Good noon. It's a great pleasure for me to host Dr. Lobna Mustafa for our year-based placemaking that is focusing on faith-based placemaking series. She'll be sharing about religious faith-based placemaking with respect to Eid Ramadan in context of Egypt. Dr. Lobna is an architect, urbanist, and expert in sustainable urbanism and community engagement. She is co-founder for Amakan Network Organization for Placemaking at Arab States. Thank you, Lobna ji, for accepting our invite.
Okay, it's my pleasure, and thank you very much for inviting me.
So it would be great if you could share your insights about spirit-based placemaking in the context of Islamic religion and how it's interconnected with the community.
Okay, first of all, Sonia, I'd like to take you and your audience much back in history with the start of Islam. Because when Islam started, the mosque was the core foundation of the Islamic city. It's where the people used to gather, not only for prayer. The mosque has never been a place for praying only. It was a kind of community center. And it has all the functions of community center. Within the mosque, you will find people praying, and you will find people learning, and you will find people discussing their social issues and taking consultations from elders or from sheikh. And you will find also around the mosque people trading and people selling and people buying and people crossing by, greeting each other, having friendly discussions. So the mosque as the core of the start and the core of the city was basically the community center where people can have and practice so many activities that all related to their daily life, not only religious. And because of this very specific and special role of mosque in Muslim lives, it also become a central area within the planning of any new Muslim city. So you'll find the mosque as the central area, and there is a huge place around the mosque, or huge space, which was basically, you can find it as agora in Roman and in a forum in Greek. And here in Islam, it's a seha, it's a plaza. It's a huge space around the mosque because it's also used for different activities. You can use it, or Muslim can use it as a place for extension of praying rows when it's the time for Eid or the time for feast. So you will need more extension space outside the mosque. And in normal days, you will find it's always crowded or with lines of street vendors who are selling and buying very small and cheap products for the prayers coming out from the mosque. And you will find also a place where people can gather and sit and gather and discuss their daily issues, and maybe also have agreement for more bigger trades. So with this concept of space around the mosque, it becomes a central place, the central community place in every single Islamic or Muslim city. You can see this from the beginning of the Muslim civilization, from Baghdad city and up till Cairo's, where is so many mosques, and every mosque has its own plaza or seha around the mosque. The other thing that maybe deserve to be noticed, that this spaces around the mosque, it has never been about the shape of the space. because the focus was always about the activity happening in these places. So you can say that the seha, or the place around the mosque, or introducing the mosque to the urban context should be square or should be rectangular. No, it is not. And sometimes it is kind of the taking the shape of the streets itself, whether it's pounded or it's kind of milled, or so it's just matching the urban context, and only the mosque is taking the direction of the qibla. This is the only part where there is a specific direction, there is a specific orientation that should be obtained for the planning and architecture or design of the mosque.
So I'm also
So
curious to know about our inter-community relationships in harmony around these plazas, and how does it happen on normal routines and also during festive occasions?
okay, this is really interesting. But to answer this question, you have to differentiate between different types of mosque. It's not about the type of mosque, it's about the location of the mosque. So for all the big mosques that are located in the old heart of the city, like for example, the old Cairo or the historic Cairo, it's a bit different from mosque in new neighborhoods or new districts or new cities, in the way they are communicating with the surrounding. Because for the specific architecture and the planning for the use around the mosque in the old Cairo or the heart of the old towns in general, you will find the mosque is surrounded by small shops, which are dukkan, or it's a kind of very small shops that selling and buying mostly things related to religious use, something like Islamic books, maybe praying mats, beads, which is sabha, some kind of traditional perfumes, bukhur, incense, and stuff like this. So you will find this very small rows and all the handmade products as well. So you'll find these small shops is always surrounding the spaces around the mosque in Old Cairo. Moving to new planning or the new extension of Cairo or the new districts, you will find the mosque in the middle, and there is maybe a parking lot and a small garden and surrounded by streets. So because of this different use of the spaces and the areas around the land use of the spaces around the mosque, you will find this reflected somehow on the use of the space around the mosque as well. In Old Cairo, you will never find the people pray and leave. You will find the people pray and start walking and steering around, talking to each other, buying, selling, and discussing for the price to get the best one. You will find families maybe going to have lunch on the very traditional restaurants, small restaurants around the mosque in this specific old heart of Cairo, where when you move, you can say the same, by the way, in most of the Islamic cities, not only about Cairo. Then when you move to the other, the different model, which is the mosque in the new districts, you will find mostly that people finish their prayer, start greeting each other, and start talking, but for a shorter time. And the activity will be limited to this is very specific time, unless it's a time for Jum'ah, which is Friday pray. Jum'ah is a spiritual ritual activity happening every Friday. So you will find street vendors coming to surround this plaza in front of the mosque or around the mosque. So people will take some time to start buying maybe fruits, vegetables, some small sweets for their family before returning back to homes. So I think this is the major difference between uh, the activities happening around the mosque based on their location on the city.
So it's very interesting to know that it acts as a socio-cultural and economic hub, irrespective of the old context or the urban context. So it would be great if you could share more insights about the different rituals or festivals and how that acts as a community space and how the interrelationships develop.
Okay, I'd like here to move some somehow far from the mosque
Okay.
because, as I say, the mosque and the seha and or plaza around the mosque is the core of the activity of placemaking activity. Let us call it by the name as happening because people comes and getting their products start putting it in a different way, having some shades above them, specifically in summertime. So it's a kind of community placemaking, traditional placemaking, where people are setting the place to accommodate the activity happening after Juma or the activity happening in feast time. And of course, in feast time, it's the most let's call it, it's the highest celebration happening around mosque because all the family goes to the, most of the time mosque are for the pray of men only, but in night time or feast time it's the whole family going there, the whole family, including kids and women and everyone. So the celebration, it becomes very the peak of the social celebration happening where the community, all everyone is greeting each other. Some of the families, especially if they have the economic capacity, they will start distributing sweets for other prayers and other people as a way of saying happy Eid for each other. People start taking photos and start celebrating. So you'll find a huge crowd and ceremony and celebration. It's like a festival happening just after the finish, starting just after the finish of the Eid and continue maybe for 1 hour or sometimes before people start going to visit their other family members and they have starting the Eid celebrations. Uh, so if we move apart from the mosque as the center of this spiritual placemaking or spiritual based placemaking, and going to other districts where there is so amazing celebration happening um, uh, at the start or before the start of Ramadan. Ramadan for Muslims, it's the spiritual holy month. It has a specific value and a precious, unique value amongst the 12th month. This is where everyone is waiting for Ramadan. It's waiting to invest our time and efforts more in Ramadan in more spiritual activities. But coming along with this spiritual activity and this spiritual month, you will find a huge wave of celebration and placemaking happening in residential neighborhoods. So you will find specifically, you can see this, it is noticed everywhere, but you will find it the the most specific or the typical traditional way of celebrating Ramadan you can only see in traditional neighborhoods, in all the neighborhoods, in let's call it, it's the under average neighborhoods where people are still celebrating in the very old way. and where people as neighbors knows everyone know, they know each other in an excellent way. They have very, very strong community bonds together, and they investing this community bonds in celebrating Ramadan before Ramadan. So you'll find in these communities people starting to welcoming or starting the activities of welcoming and place making their own neighborhood in a way of celebration of the start of Ramadan, 2 weeks or maybe 1 month before Ramadan. They kind of collect, it's basically based on kids and youth. They start collecting money from families, collecting money from shops owners, and from everyone, so they can have the budget to buy the material and start by themselves making this very beautiful street decoration. The street decoration is always distributed amongst the whole area streets, as you can see in this very beautiful photo. So everyone is happy about this, and they can distribute some lamps, so and add some lights for the streets to make it more bright, and to have it because in Ramadan you will find a shift on the day activities, because people mostly stay awake till Fajr. Fajr is the start time. Fajr is a pray. It's a pray time and the start time of fasting for us as Muslims, which ends by the sunset, and which is the Maghrib pray. So because they stay awake along the night as well, they add more light for the streets, and this light brings together all the kids, so they have something like a football round, and they have their other activities. You will find mosque always open, so people can study more about Quran and have more durus or lessons from Sheikh. So it's a kind of a specific celebration coming with Ramadan. The one that I'd like really to highlight is the one happening in an area called Azbet Plail. Azbet Plail, Azba is a name for always kind of rural based community. So these people, the residents of Azbet Plail, they are located in Cairo, in a district or an area called Mataraya. But Azbet Bilal, it's basically for people coming from a rural background, but they stayed there, and everyone there knows each other. So Azbet Bilal, this is I think this was the 12th year for them to celebrate Ramadan in this very, for us to know. I think they started this maybe very long ago, but for them, they started celebrating Ramadan together as a community instead of very few neighbors collecting and decorating, and very few neighbors in another street, and like this. It started by a group of youth who decided, let's do the decoration for the whole district. For the first year, they made the decoration for 2 streets. Then the number of decorated streets is continued till it reached 10 streets. The value of this placemaking is nothing about decoration, actually, because decoration will happen in all similar areas around Cairo. But the value that they took the advantage of this community bonding to celebrate Ramadan together by making or laying the iftar. Iftar is the main meal during Ramadan. You can take it equivalent to lunch time or dinner in the Western community. So iftar is where you finish your fasting time and you start eating your main meal. As Muslim, uh, offering iftar for another person, for another fasting person, it's a huge deed. And we are encouraged to do this all the time. So they are taking the advantage of this community bond to offer iftar for the whole districts and everyone coming from outside. So for them as a community, they come together and they have this joint lunch, they join the iftar, and they offer the iftar for everyone else. They start collecting the budget for this iftar from the first day of Ramadan, and it's always happening at the 15th of Ramadan. So for us, the people who are not from Mataraya, we are celebrating this excellent community activity with them because we feel how much it's inspiring, really. I don't have the same in my district. I don't know any other district doing the same, but you will find some individuals doing this in so many places around Cairo, specifically if they are people with a good income. You will find them offering iftar in front of their buildings for the passing by, for the bus drivers, for the taxi drivers, for everyone will be on the street by the time of sunset and they don't have food. So they are welcoming everyone to come over and have meal. But to have a whole community joining their efforts, place making or making their place as if it's a huge dining room with an excellent, cheerful decoration, and sharing the same meal in one day, it's the same time, and offering for everyone, and even sending invitation to everyone over social media, come and join us. This is really big. I find this is really inspiring very much because it says a lot about how kind are these people, how generous they are, despite what I have said that they are not from a high economic class. They are under average, but still having this spiritual belief that when they are doing this, they are distributing kindness and distributing compassion with everyone.
That's so interesting to know about. And you did cover the different aspects of how different genders are a part of it and also about the different communities.
Okay, this is really interesting because when the first year I heard about Azbet Bilal celebration, um, I noticed that who are sharing the meal on the street are males only. And was for me, I found that this is not fair. Where is the men? Where is the women? Then I start investigating more about what is happening there. Till I found out that it's really amazing that the women are the chef for the whole ceremony. So the men are collecting money, the kids and youth are bringing the materials, and the women are the chef. And some of the women specifically donated their kitchen to gather their neighbors, their women neighbors, all together 2 or 3 days before this celebration day, which is the 15th of Ramadan. So they start preparing meals because this is a huge number of people. It started as the first year with 1,000 person, and this year I heard the number of 25,000 person shared the same meal. So you are talking about a huge set, something like the royal meal. So they are the people donating their efforts for preparing this. Till this year, for this year, the people decided that let's elevate the level of our celebration. So instead of the mothers and the wives working to prepare the meals, they prepared something like a street kitchen, and they brought chefs, which are the restaurant chefs around the district, and brought them together. So they start preparing these meals all together instead of having the women cooking for them. And the women, like they came together and start having the meals on the same time. This is really interesting because in this community, it's difficult to find uh, women sitting on the street. For them, sitting in their own homes and having their neighbors and having other women sharing the same meal with them or sharing iftar with them, this is how they feel happy. And this is really interesting because you need to know more about the community when you see any activities from outside so you can understand what is happening and why this is happening. From this point of view, I can see that they are elevating not only the number of people contributing and not only the number of people sharing the meal, but they also the quality of sharing. So they have now cookers, they have now chefs, and they have the women celebrating the same way like the men.
That's so interesting to have an inclusive community and having other people from outside and also involving the entire community. So, what would you like to share for the placemakers, for other faith-based or in generic? What is a message that you would like to share, or any insights for the future placemakers to have in mind for designing or for planning criterias?
Okay, Somya, I'd like only to add one more detail about this celebration in Hizb Bilal, that this celebration becomes an attraction for outside people. So, for example, last year, the ambassadors for some countries sent to the community there, we would like to share the meal with you. So they welcomed, for example, the Korean ambassador and I believe the Georgian ambassador as well. This year, some of the ministers they sent to the people, and this is the minister for community, the one holding the food up. So this year, some of the ministers sent them. We would like to share it with you. So they, some actors, some actresses, some ministers, some big businessmen went to have this kind of. It's an amazing feeling that you can sit with the people, you can sit with normal people on the street, having a shared meal with them and discussing their issues and discussing their needs. From this perspective, I can see that how a community engagement activity joined with a huge placemaking for the whole district become a focus and attraction not only for the decision makers but for everyone from the community. And this is really important because you can say a lot about the value of community engagement, but people maybe will not focus and capture what you mean. But seeing this on the happening and seeing this uh, feeling this and practicing this with the community, I think it delivers a good message and a very precious message for everyone, how they can give the community a space to shape their own areas the way they like, and how you can offer them help within their own definition of needed help. Uh, so I'll take it from there to answer your question. The problem with the city planners, the problem actually starts from the city planning level, because city planning on the city planning level, the city planners believe that they can plan community activities according to, for example, zoning theory, where you can find here an educational zone, then you will find residential zones, and here you will find a commercial zone. This theory, this zoning theory, it took the community apart actually. So people are no longer can meet each other when they are buying from the small shop under each building, because their residential building is only residential. So I am not sure if they review their background or review their beliefs about planning. But it's very important that you give people a space to meet and engage with each other from the level of city planning. Coming to, this is for new planned cities, of course, but for the existing cities, if you would like really to give help for the people to make their cities more livable, their districts more alive, and having cheerful time within their public space, you have to listen to them. None of us have the capacity to say what makes the people happy. Only the people can say, and let me say from my long practice, people are excellent in identifying the difference between their needs and their preferences. They know exactly what they need to live in a good way. Then they might have some other preferences. But for the outer person, he doesn't have this line of differentiation. It's always mixed up. So you need to listen to the people. You need to engage people, not to check it out from your list that you are practicing community engagement. You need to do this from a deep belief that your main task is a community facilitator. Whether you are architect, whether you are planner, whether you are a placemaking, let's call it expert or practitioner, it is not about having a title or having a job checked out from your list of activities. It's about the core concept of the activity itself. The core concept is participatory. You need to listen to them. You need to be to deliver to them the way they can brought out their own knowledge. So they have the knowledge, but maybe they don't have the way of sketching. Let's sketch for them. There is so many ways of participatory design or community design. You can refer to any of them, to all of them actually, and check which one you need to use, which tool you need to use, which method you need to use with this specific community for this specific goals. You need to be clear about your own job. Because on one of the projects, unfortunately, the people used to hear very profound, very deep promises from the decision makers, but none of them has been done. So the people felt let down many times, and they lost the trust for anyone. So when I went to have this participatory kind of community design with them, they didn't even want to meet me because khalas, they was fooled many times before. So my first task was to have a meeting not with the people, but with the decision makers, making it clear for them that you lost the people trust. To give the people trust, you would have to have the willing to do exactly what they request. Otherwise, you are losing them forever. And alhamdulillah, this project went excellent because when we have this agreement with the decision makers, I could have the capacity to deliver this message to the community that whatever we are going to agree for, whatever you are saying here, you are going to get. Also, helping them to get the budget needed for any change, the budget needed for any activities. For now, not all the municipalities have the budget to help in this activities of placemaking or reshaping places around mosque or for spiritual reasons or for religious reasons. But the good thing is that I can see the rise of corporate social responsibility happening around Arab cities. It is not as much as we all expect and we all hope for, but it is raising and it's giving a good example for other corporates to give budget for similar activities. This should be the main advices I might give to for the youth willing to act and to deal with the communities.
That was a very insightful conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Lobna, for taking out your precious time and sharing your insights.
It's my pleasure, Soumya, and I'd like to thank you very much for your follow-up. You are excellent follow-up, and you embarrassed me actually
Thank you so
by
much. It's
by
a
your
pleasure.
dedication, and it's always my pleasure sharing a perspective with for placemaking with other communities, and from the perspective of other civilization is always a way to learn and to understand more about us as human beings.
Yes, so true. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.